Imagine stepping out of your car one rainy evening after a long, eventful day. You're obviously expecting nothing more than a quick walk to your doorstep and bed. But then, in a split second, a bolt of lightning strikes, changing everything. It might sound like something out of a poorly written Netflix original, but unfortunately, it was the sad reality for Laila, a 50-year-old woman from Kalamassery, Kerala, on May 16, 2025. If you were to look up the phrase, God's own country, your search engine would bring up the name Kerala. Located in India, it's the country's 14th smallest state. Kerala boasts of the country's highest literacy rate and is nestled in the southwestern part of the Indian peninsula, on the Malabar coast. On the west, it's bordered by the Arabian Sea, and on the east, the Western Ghats Mountains. Kerala is popularly known as God's own country for two reasons. One, its origins. According to Hindu mythology, Kerala is believed to have come from Lord Parasurama, an incarnation of Lord Vishnu, who is said to have created the land from the sea, making it a divine creation. But apart from its strong spiritual fiber, the second reason is the state's aesthetic beauty. Kerala is full of very lush landscapes. Think palm-lined beaches and lots of wildlife. It's also popular for its stagnant backwaters and monsoon rains. And that's exactly where the problem lies. From June to September, India goes through the monsoon season, and that means a period of intense weather, usually characterized by thunderstorms and lightning. They're natural and unavoidable, but the risks they pose are real. And in recent times, they've stuck a lot earlier than anyone would have expected. In the early hours of May 16, 2025, the Indian Meteorological Department had already released a forecast warning. Thunderstorms accompanied by lightning and gusty winds with speeds of about 40 to 40 kilometers per hour were likely to hit isolated parts of Kerala until the 20th of May. The IMD had also issued a yellow alert for several districts in Kerala. These yellow alerts serve as a warning for heavy rainfall, measuring between 6 centimeters and 11 centimeters within 24 hours. The event. But despite the repeated warnings and alerts, calamity eventually struck. It happened late that night at the Kalamassery Mughal housing complex in the Kalamassery region, around 10:45 p.m. A woman and her husband, returning from a wedding earlier in the day, had just parked their car outside their house. They were leaving the vehicle when suddenly a streak of lightning pierced the black night sky, leaving terror in its wake. When the bright light and rumble of the thunder had passed, both people lay sprawled on the ground. Horrified, their neighbors rushed out of their houses to see if anything could be done to save the situation. And before long, the family was on their way to the hospital. Abbas, the husband, survived his burn injuries. But for his wife, Laila, luck was not on her side. She was recorded dead on arrival, her 50-year-old body unable to withstand the effects of being struck by the elements. Sadly, she's not the only one. Laila is the latest name to be added to a list of about 162 people who have already lost their lives to lightning all across India, just between March and April of 2025. The central Indian states of Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, and Chhattisgarh, along with eastern states like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, and Odisha, are among the most lightning-vulnerable regions. As with many other societies, India's lower strata are the most vulnerable. Because of their widespread poverty, poor housing patterns, and reliance on the land, they are placed at the highest risk. What went wrong? So what exactly went wrong, and how come an otherwise regular, natural occurrence is responsible for so many deaths? Well, to understand this, we have to first ask the foundational question, what is lightning? Or rather, what causes lightning? When we think of lightning, we all picture a big, bright flash of electricity in the sky. A huge buildup of electricity charges in the sky causes this flash. At first, the air serves as a barrier between the positive and negative charges in the clouds, or between the cloud and the ground. But as the difference in charges gets too strong, the air just cannot hold them back anymore. The result is a sudden burst of electricity, which the human eye sees as a lightning bolt. It might be a pretty sight to behold, but then you consider that those bolts can sometimes reach temperatures of about 30,000 kelvins, 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun, and easily carry an enormous amount of electrical energy. Bleak reality sets in, and the beauty of the bright light is lost on you. Still, you'd have nothing to worry about if it were an intercloud or IC event. It's the cloud-to-ground or CG events that bother scientists. Between 2019 to 2020, there were about 13.8 million of them. Between 2022 to 2023, there were already 20 million, and they're the real trouble. But why all this elemental activity all of a sudden? It's quite worrisome that lightning strikes in India increased by 53% between 2019 and 2023. In some states, the rise even exceeds 300%. Experts believe that the increase in lightning is a stark indication of climate change. Global warming has intensified the heat, so sea surface temperatures are on the rise. And not only that, the ice in the Himalayas and other mountains worldwide is melting, and that's causing increased moisture in the atmosphere. Let's look at a frightening statistic, for example. Between April 10th and 11th, 126 people lost their lives due to these GC lightning strikes. What caused the sudden spike? Well, lightning is usually caused by two main factors: moisture and heat. And the weather conditions over the previous week created a quite conducive environment for lightning incidents to occur. There had been extreme heat the previous week, so weather conditions were pretty dry, only for them to be met by a sudden influx of moisture caused by a western disturbance in cyclonic circulation. The results? Intensified thunderstorms. And of course, where there's thunder, there's bound to be lightning. Could it have been prevented? The numbers are damning, and they lead us to ask, could this have been prevented? The answer is yes. We'll take things one at a time. Let's start with the couple. Now yes, there had been warnings and all, but for Laila and her husband, Abbas, it is very likely that the warnings came too late. Luck was really against the couple too. When lightning strikes, the tallest objects in the vicinity are often at the most risk. Tall buildings, trees, electric poles, and people. Lightning will always seek the shortest path to the earth, and most times, human beings end up as a tragic conduit for its journey. Also, contrary to what most people think, it is actually a safe bet to stay in your car during a situation like this. So had this couple stayed in their car just a little bit longer, they might have been saved. This is because cars are generally safe during lightning storms. Their metal frame acts as a Faraday cage, directing the electrical current around the occupants and into the ground. So as long as you remain hidden in the vehicle, you'd be protected. But the moment one steps out, and especially if they touch the metal door or stand on the wet floor, they are the vulnerable equivalent of a sitting duck. Had this couple known this, they would have stayed in their car, even long after the rains subsided. This is because sometimes lightning might still strike even after the rain stops. Unfortunately, Laila and her husband were uninformed about the safety measures they should take while stuck in a thunderstorm. And like we said earlier, they aren't the only ones. Despite previous tragedies, a vast number of Indians would still be at a loss for what to do if they were to be caught in a similar situation. Sure, the IMD has always issued early warnings to disaster management authorities in each district about the potential for lightning events. But from the look of things, these warnings are often overlooked, or just not taken seriously by the people who should. In India, many district magistrates also serve as the chairpersons of the District Disaster Management Authority. But many of them are lax about performing their duties, and rarely involve themselves in any public awareness campaigns. If they took their responsibilities seriously, many people would be well informed about safety measures, such as avoiding open fields and not seeking shelter under trees during storms. Sadly, the authorities aren't doing their jobs, and the people they're supposed to lead are paying heavily for their half-heartedness. Even in the very few cases that they give out any form of instruction, it usually borders on rain and flooding, not lightning. And that's a reflection about many Indians' attitude towards lightning. A lot of Indians are awfully superstitious. Some believe the lightning is a supernatural occurrence, so yellow and orange alerts are usually just flouted, as most people believe that their gods will protect them or that the lightning will only strike far away. It's a terrible case of miseducation and humans' unwillingness to yield to instructions. But if the state of things says the same, there's only one possible outcome. The death toll is going to spike. As it is, lightning deaths in India are already at a really terrible high. Throughout the 30 days of April 2024, there were only 28 lightning fatalities. We're barely halfway through, and more than 150 people have died already. That's a 5-fold increase. And bear in mind, we haven't even reached the monsoon season yet, so it can only get worse from here. There's nothing humanly possible that can be done about lightning and thunder, as these are natural elements we have no power whatsoever over. But a lot more could have and should have been done to prevent this loss of life in India. Maybe, just maybe, if more had been done to educate and prepare people, Laila and the hundreds of other dead people might have been alive today. Laila and Abbas might be the only names we know, but it must be remembered that there are countless other Indians who've lost their lives to lightning strikes. Others are still at risk and need more than anything to be armed with the information that can safeguard their lives during these thunderstorms. But what did you think of all of that? Are the accidents really unavoidable? Or are we being too hard on the Indian government for not doing enough? Let us know in the comments, and do like this video and don't forget to share with your friends.